It doesn't require much convincing these days to see and understand that our organizations are and will continue to be inundated with shockwaves of change for a very long time to come. A core competence of leaders, therefore, is leading through and coping with the changes while anticipating the next wave of disruption. So how do we manage within our current crises or be prepared for the next shockwave? By adopting the attributes of highly reliable organizations, or HROs, we can better understand the importance of reliable performance in the midst of disruption. At the same time, an HRO recognizes that the world is full of the unexpected and that it is unrealistic to anticipate every situation that will come their way. We call this being human. An HRO's focus is on building resilience into both their systems and people, enhancing their ability to prevent failures, as well as cope and recover quickly when the shockwaves come. Sound too good to be true? At times, yes. But if we are committed to this new type of organization, the results can be rewarding to both the organization and the team. So let's highlight the common set of practice and attributes that can serve as a model for organizations operating under pressure. Presented in the acronym LEADERS, and quite frankly, who doesn't love a good acronym? It emphasizes the critical importance of leadership's accountability as they take their organization through the crisis, building resilience as they go. Let's begin with the L in LEADERS, which is to learn from feedback. It is important for team members to have a good understanding of the consistencies and variations in their organization. This is learned through the attention and cumulative feedback of the individual members, and yet too often organizations create constraints that prevent their members from doing just that. We often see these constraints in organizations where there is a lack of leadership visibility to the front line rather than a clear line of sight through routine rounding or meetings with those at the point of service. Or there is a fierce focus on productivity rather than building in adequate time for learning, problem solving, and creative adaptation. How often have you or your team been a casualty of this kind of thinking? Moving on to the E in LEADERS, which is for effective teamwork. Teams often perform better than individuals because they bring a diverse set of skills and expectations to the table, and because we are all a composition of strengths, talents, inadequacies, and biases, teams can self-correct and compensate for each other's deficits. Leaders help set the tone through their willingness to collaborate across professions, departments, and groups, creating environments that promote and reward open communication and teamwork rather than avoidance, competition, or blame. This is certainly a journey, and there will be challenges, but you must start somewhere, so why not begin with investing in your team's capabilities? Let the engagement and energy take hold. You'll be amazed at the results even early on in the process. Then watch that energy build. Up next is the A in LEADERS, which is for anticipate the unexpected. There are two sides to this coin. One, anticipating what could happen and watching for it. And two, knowing that you cannot possibly anticipate everything, so you need to be prepared to adapt quickly to minimize the risks. The first side of the coin requires a heightened awareness of the risks around you, leading with eyes wide open, paying attention rather than hoping something goes away or denying it exists. In other words, hiding from reality. The goal here is to proactively see the risks and intervene before the problem actually occurs. We call this prevention. The second side of the coin is about resilience, what we call containment. Through training, practicing, and incentivizing the workforce to see and act quickly, the workforce can learn, adapt, and absorb the strain, bouncing back much faster. Now we're just checking in here. Are you a believer in the HRO model yet? We know it's a bit early, but we hope you're getting there, so let's keep going. Let's continue with the D in LEADERS, which is to defer to expertise. This requires mastering the ability to alter the typical patterns of deference as the tempo of operations changes and unexpected problems arise. In other words, leaders move the decision-making locus to those who have the expertise rather than to those of a particular status or rank. The experts are those with the best knowledge of the current situation, those with an understanding of the most salient issues. Decision makers, therefore, migrate up and down the hierarchical structure depending on the issue, accountability, responsibility, uniqueness of the problem, and environmental characteristics. Do you have a good feel for the expertise within your team and organization? Now on to the second E in LEADERS, which is for extra sensitive to operations. This starts with paying attention to reality, how the practical, everyday work is really done. How often have you found yourself saying, My CEO has no idea what is really going on. Too often, the higher the leader is on the corporate ladder, the greater the difficulty in seeing the operational risks and realities. Listening is key here, as well as rolling up those shirt sleeves and digging into an issue with the team. Be an influencer. Focusing on the wrong things can create a false sense of success, as can surrounding yourself with only those who think like you or tell you what you want to hear. Through a commitment to effective measures, timely dialogue across teams and silos, and active listening, organizational members' understanding of the complexities are deepened and enriched for early problem identification and action. This is where the magic often happens. Next up is the R in leaders, which is for resilient system design. We are all independent on systems to keep us on track and perform reliably. And because people and systems are never perfect, it is critical to anticipate what can go wrong and build resilience into the systems we depend on. There are 3 strategies to enhance and manage system performance. The first one is barriers, which are obstacles put in place to prevent failures by reducing threats and hazards or by limiting human performance. The second strategy is called redundancies. It's the parallel working components or backups that serve as checks and balances. And the third strategy is recoveries, which are the additional layers of protection for when barriers and recoveries fail that are there to correct when things go wrong. And finally, we have the S in leaders, which is for systems thinkers. Our organizations are made of systems of people interacting with other people and technology. The social side of the system, or people interacting with people, is self-organizing, unpredictable, and uncontrollable because people have free will and choice all day, every day. How utterly human is this? While we as leaders sometimes think that if we impose our will on others, it will happen, reality tells us this is not reality. A leader's focus must change from that of decision maker and compliance manager to that of influencer and architect, one who creates the conditions for others to see the path forward, stay within the guardrails, and willingly contribute their best work. So to conclude, leading a group or team forward is a dynamic and messy process during times of significant change. It requires building resilience into our systems and our people. It is an investment in each team member's capabilities, preparing them to anticipate, monitor, learn, and respond to both the disruptions and opportunities in their midst. In other words, now is the time for a high reliability organization.